Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Heart Next Door podcast. As you know, this season we are diving deep into maternal health and family wellness, and I am so fortunate and just overjoyed to have a table full of women that I love and admire so much. My tribe, my family, my loved ones. They span generations from my sister to my mom, my aunts, my great aunt, my grandma, my other aunt, and my cousin. And we just want to have a real, even you see baby girl here too. We're all here to celebrate her because it was her christening this weekend. And so we just want to, take advantage of this special moment that we don't get to share a lot amongst each other, and also just as a community in general. Oftentimes, we don't have the opportunity to come to family to be able to lean on family, especially as women and as mothers. And so, I'm excited to just have an honest and candid conversation and to share this with you all. So yeah, we're gonna dive in. My sister has some questions that she's gonna help us use as conversation starters, and we're just gonna have a very honest and candid conversation. So enjoy.
So the first question is, how do you define what it meant to be a woman when you were growing up, and how has that changed for you?
Grandma, you look like you have a answer.
How do I define woman?
How did you
How did you
find?
Grab it,
define
Grandma. Just grab it. That's fine.
How do I define woman?
How did you define a woman when you were a little girl? What did being a woman mean to you?
Can I say this on camera?
Yes. Yes, you can say that. Say it.
As I matured in age and the body changes happen, that's how I knew that a woman. I was becoming a woman in my early age when my body started to give the signs of womanhood from infancy to childhood and womanhood. So your body changes. Okay, that's the first signal.
Did you have a conversation with your mom about it? Did she talk to you about what that meant to be a woman, or did you just learn from your siblings? I know you grew up in a household with 10 siblings.
Exactly.
So how did you learn?
But in my generation, they did not talk about differences, uh, male and female. It was sight unseen. And as far as maturing into womanhood, when it happened, you didn't get conversation before it happened. But when it happened, you really didn't get a full understanding of what was happening to you. So you went somewhere and you cried and you wondered what was going on. And they gave you the shortest version that they could give you. That my mother said, you shouldn't have been a gal. So that's how and I learned on my own as I grew. I matured into the woman that I am today.
That is well said. My mom didn't talk about change of life or anything, but as you grew into maturity and you learned that your body was changing, something was going on. Wasn't quite sure what it was, but at school, the school nurse, we had these classes about growing into womanhood, at the age of 12, which is when I started my first, and I didn't know what was going on. But by going to school, and school nurse having class with us, because it was not talked about at home. 6 boys and 4 girls, it was not talked about at home.
Mm.
But I can remember as mom had her, the first five of the kids, and I asked her a question. Probably shouldn't say this. I asked the question, Mom, how does it feel to have 5 kids. What does it feel like? And she looked at me and said, you don't want to know. Yes, I want to know. Tell me how does it feel? But in her interpretation, to scare me, I know that it's like, she said, picture a watermelon. Picture a watermelon. It's something this big. Come out of it. I said, oh my gosh. No, I don't want to have a child. No, I know I won't last having something that big coming out of me. But she sort of scared you in a sense, so you won't go that way, because in her kids, she had maybe 5 at the hospital, and the other 5 at home with a midwife. So it was, she's a strong little woman, and she did it all, So, that was what it was like growing up in our home.
And this is my sister. I'm the second child, the second girl. We have an older sister that's deceased, but I was child number 2, delivered by a midwife. But it was sort of a deterrent for you not to be a fast girl, but it was okay once you got married, but we were not at the age of being married. So, and we could have back in the day because they were married at 14. But anyway, it was not a conversation that we had. It's something I wanted to talk to my mom about, but I myself didn't have the words or know how to do it. Yeah, we did have the health ed at school with the nurse, but not from our parents. Whatever advice they gave us, it was strict and in the negative. You don't want to go there. But I'm so happy that as I matured and had 3 girls of my own, that I am so thankful that I am a mother and that I have 3 beautiful daughters and 6 grands and 6 great grandkids. And I give it all the glory to God.
I just want to say, as one of her 3 girls, and the last one, you all just sharing your experience of becoming a woman was different from me, because luckily I was last. So I got to see what it was like and what I would go through beforehand. So it wasn't a shock. It wasn't something that I had to wait for. And thankfully, Mom, you talked to me about it at the same time you talked to Joetta about it. So a couple years before it was ever something that I would have to experience, I kind of knew what it meant physically to become a woman. So I'm thankful for that, being the last.
I'll share this. I do remember, as a middle child, my auntie getting pregnant sooner than she was supposed to. And they made Angie go in the room. And when she ran out and got scared, I asked Mama what was going on. And Mama said the same thing that happened to you if you be fast. So I was like, okay. So that stuck with me later, and I asked Angie what was wrong. Angie was like, no. So I just remember that look on her face, like, okay, I don't want to be grown, I don't want to be crying. And that just stuck with me a little while. Not long enough, but it just stuck with me like, okay, something's going to happen later, and I can be a woman, but I don't want to be a woman, so I just watch. But I do want to say I'm real thankful to have a lot of women, a wonderful older sister who always said, I want to be like her, a beautiful mother, grandmother, aunties. We have a large circle of women that I admire and can always look back and say, oh, and my joke is I always say, WWRD, what would Rose do? So as I'm thinking of stuff, okay, this is the kind of woman I want to be like my mother, my grandmother. So I have that to like, okay, this is the kind of woman that I want to be, like in everything.
Okay. In listening to the question, I didn't immediately go to, the developmental part of becoming a woman. But just talking about it, I saw the classes, the sex ed classes during school, and I remember my first cycle, and I don't even know if I've shared this story with my mom or anybody. It happened the weekend I was supposed to go on a camping trip. I was a Girl Scout. And I remember being at school, and it was right after school. We were going to leave to go on the camping trip, and I, had my first experience, my first cycle, and didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to miss the camping trip. I thought I wasn't going to be able to go on the camping trip, so I didn't tell anybody. But thankfully, I had one of my best friends, her big sister, was there, and she helped me through it, during that camping trip. But yeah, it was different. I don't remember mom sitting me down and us having a conversation about it. I knew that it wasn't that I didn't feel like I couldn't talk to mom about it, but it was just, I don't know. I think back then, it's this kind of, we just didn't talk about it. We just didn't talk about it. But then thinking about, the question about, being a woman, I just always thought, okay, when you get old enough to get married, when you turn 18 and you get old enough to get married, and that's when, you would become like a woman. Yeah. When you get 18 and you're of age to get married, that's when you really become a woman. That's not true.
Yeah.
But thinking as a young, teenager growing up, that's what I thought. Okay, I'll be a woman when I'm of age to get married and have my own family. So,
Yeah, I love that, and I'm curious to if Alyssa or Future have anything to weigh in, because we are like the next generation after that. But I can say personally, I also feel like I had this idea of what womanhood was. We never had a conversation about, and I'm wondering, like, why is that? Why don't we talk about those things, like what it means to be a woman? We talked about, I remember after I had my period, we talked about it. After I lost my virginity in high school, we talked about it. I remember that. Yes, and it's we're being honest. Yeah, we talked about it.
yeah.
Yes,
And that was hard, like as her mother was like, okay, my baby, has had, her first experience, and I didn't want to
Cry.
Yeah,
I didn't
she
want to
did.
cry.
We
I
did
didn't
cry.
wanna- I
We did
probably
cry.
did cry. I didn't want to get mad, or I did not want her to feel like she could not talk to me. I'm like, okay, this is, okay, this has happened. So now we need to talk about, protection and, not, just doing it for the sake of doing it. You should be doing that with, somebody that you love. So I remember that moment. I cried. But at the same time, I didn't want to push her away. I wanted her to still be able to just talk to me about it. And I think I did that with both of you. I remember just, oh no, not my baby. But still wanting to leave that line of communication open so they would talk to me about it.
Yeah.
I did this. Well, my two girls, oldest and youngest. The first was different because I didn't want to admit she was, a woman. But baby, I'm like, look, if you do this, you're gonna be like your sister. You're gonna have a baby. You're gonna do this, and she looked at me like, what? So I did think we talked to mom. I shared my first experience with her, which was crazy, and we laughed and joked about it. So I was okay telling her after the fact. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do that with my girls too. I talked to them and checked their response to see how this one gave as being a woman, how this one gave. Alyssa's very easy. Yana was different, so I said, okay, the first one, that was a trial and error one. Look, we can't do this. So I'm to say this, I was not afraid. What's the word when you trying to push it away? Like,
Yeah.
oh, my baby girl's gonna
Avoiding
be a woman.
it,
She can do, right, avoiding,
yeah.
hoping it'll go away.
Yeah.
But now, 17, she going to prom. We talk. I done went down everything down the line and said, girl, you better do this and don't do this. So I'm more open with her, and I've shared stuff with her jokingly to see how she responds. And if her response is interested, I'm like, oh, we need to talk about this
Yeah.
before, it's too late. So I would always want her to be able to come.
I can remember having the conversation when the girls became women. We would celebrate. Can y'all remember that in the parking lot? Oh, we got another woman in the family. That's how we did it. We called and told the circle of women, oh, we got another woman in the group, and they said, who? Tyranny, Trend, and we did, and we gave them this formula. First, school, college, job, and then you get married, and then the babies come to keep them, in tune to their self-worth. That's what it was. We didn't want them to experience the hard part of life before they really experienced the good life. That was the village response when we, thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder, too, why is it? Because we all talked about having different experiences, and I just wonder, why is it as a society, like, we have different approaches? Either you try to scare your daughter out of doing something, you avoid it, you push it to the back of your head and act like it's not going to happen, And as I think about, she's so little now, but I know the day will come, and I'm always thinking about, like, what, like, when do you have those conversations? What's the right thing to do? And so do you guys feel like it made a difference for you? I know, Joe, you mentioned, like, you had two different approaches with, like, Yana and Lissa. Do you feel like it made a difference? Lissa, do you feel like it made a difference for you? Sitting at the table, you gotta talk.
I feel like it just matters about how the child is and how they are, and that's how you should approach it.
Yeah.
And I'll say this part. You finished? I'm sorry. It's harder now because social media, television, teaches them everything. Because my 7-year-old granddaughter was watching TV, and she asked me what an abortion was. And I was like, what? Grandma told her she be quiet, don't say it. I said, wait, hold on. She needs to know. But guess where she learned it from? Politics.
Yeah.
They were discussing banning abortion. She heard it. She's listening. So I didn't want to shut that part down from her because she's exposed to that. And everyone's been talking about whether or not to have an abortion. So she wanted to know. So I had to have that part of the conversation with her at 7. And really, that was scary to know that 7, we talking about this. And also, crazy experience I had with knowing you're a woman, was when she was in pre-K, Valentine's Day, they were giving Valentine's out, and they sent a list. And you normally do girls and boys. You couldn't be gender specific. You could just give Valentine's. You couldn't say boy, girl, or whatever. And they were addressing the parents as parent rather than mom and dad. So I had to really open up and say, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So having that talk about you're a woman, it's different when her school was teaching her she can pick what she want to be. So I'm like, you a girl. This is how you're a girl. And we kept saying it to her over and over again. And now when they say, oh, she, him, they, and whatever, she looks like whatever. It just passed her by because she was always taught, I'm a girl, I'm like this from now on. I'm going to have to have that conversation with us because that was so, we never thought of anything like that. So it's going to be that much harder as a grandma and great-grandma, knowing that our kids and grandkids are going to be asking, well, am I really a woman? Because society's telling them you can be a woman, even though you're born with what we say is a loop. So, that's the scary part for me about that conversation. So, I'm glad this is my last one. I ain't got to have no more. But with my granddaughters, I have to help them identify themselves and tell them what's making them a woman and actually show them, because outside of our doors, society's telling them anybody's a woman that wants to be.
You're whatever you choose
Whatever you
to
choose
be.
to be, exactly. Non-binary or whatever.
Yeah, and I know that's tough, and I heard Chip laughing earlier behind the scenes because we had a similar situation. You know, Rev is not in school yet. Our kids aren't in school yet, but we take them to, programming so they can interact with other kids. And one day we took him to a program they were having for the kids, and the kids were playing in the same room, and then the facilitator, she gathered all the parents around, and she was just like, so how do you, she was like, so basically, how do you approach gender, norms with your child? Like, she told a story about how she was a teacher, and there was a little boy who used to come every day to school, like his parents let him choose what he wanted to be every day when he woke up. So, she was having that conversation out in the open, and that was like really off-putting for us, and it was shocking because he's only 3 years old. We were in a, and it's a very different environment. I do think that's why I'm so thankful for the way that we were all raised, and we know that if you train up a child the way they should go, then they won't depart from it. Right? Those are our values. That's what we believe, and so I think that that's at the core, and that's really important. So, yeah, it's a lot though. It's something I think about a lot. Yeah.
And thinking about Rio, like you said, she's a baby now, but as Joe said, social media, you're gonna have to, get in front of it. Sad to say, she's gonna hear things from the world, but it's really what you all teach her at home. And that sadly, those conversations now have to happen earlier, just because of the exposure. Yeah, what they see on TV, you used to not even be able to see body parts on TV when I was growing up, and the TV turned off at midnight, and you heard the national anthem. But now kids have TVs in their rooms, kids have phones, they're watching television all the time, even when or the internet all the time, and they know how to access it. So yeah, you really have to.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and we get so much pushback sometimes about people, who like the fact that Rev he's never been to like for school formally, like, and even Rio too, like I'm very reluctant to put them just anywhere, because I realize if you don't raise your kids, the world will,
do it for
and
you.
I've seen it so much, and it's just, they're so precious. I only have two, so. Yeah, it's scary. It's so scary. Yeah. Trent has a great question for us, another great prompt.
So the next question is, what was expected of you as a woman in your generation, and how did you embrace it or resist those expectations?
I was expected to go to college, get married. I was expected to graduate from high school, go to college, get married, and then have a family. And I resisted. In everything. But that I knew that was expected because of what I taught. And I figured that I can make these modifications, everything will be okay. But I learned that good, right? Hiccups and speed bumps for no reason, but I tried it, and thankfully my mother was there, my family was there, to help me with it. Nobody abandoned me, during my choices. So my mom at least told me I was to be a woman, so to be a good woman, a respectable woman. So that she did help me to cover up, my shame of having a baby, I'm married.
Well, in my generation, we were expected to and taught to be the housewife. That was most important. Learn how to cook and clean and take care of your household. That was the most important thing. To take care of yourself was no option. Your family came first. But I'm thankful I've learned through the years and that if you don't take care of yourself, nothing else will be taken care of.
Amen.
'Cause you got to be number one. But that was the way we were taught. Take care of your household, your husband, your children, and then do it again the next day.
This is an ongoing thing. This is what you did if you got married. You nowadays both of you have to work. Excuse me. Because of things are so expensive now. So no one's really left home. Like mom was a housewife, a mother and grandmother. She did all this. She didn't go outside the house, and she was there for us. But knowing the type of dad that we had, even when you got a boyfriend, the same way you leave the house, you better come back. Okay? You leave the house, you better come back that same way. Meaning, you better not mess with no boy better not mess with you. So we was not really afraid of Dad, but we listened to Dad. Because Dad know what's best. And I'm thankful. So thankful.
I don't despise my upbringing at all. And I've heard Mel say, and Mel may want to say this herself, that she wants to have a man just like her daddy. The reason being that he takes care of home, and I don't have to go out and work. I haven't worked in 40 years, and I'm thankful. My job is to look after the house. What they told me in the beginning, but it has a different meaning now. I can take care of home and myself at the same time. I don't have to go out and work at all. But there's nothing that I won't ask my husband to do, your granddad and your daddy, that he will not do for me. He allowed me to fly around the world to be with my kids whenever I want to. So I'm thankful for that. That's God's gift to me, a real caring husband, and that makes a difference. He leads the family. He prays for the family, and he loves his children.
As far as expectations, one of the things that was an expectation was just like Jordan was saying, to go to school, get married, things like that. But my generation was the generation, I feel, that kind of had old school and the new school kind of mixed. So we had to do a balance where you had those expectations, but you were also now expected to work as well. So you had to do, have to do all of those things in addition to work to move the next generation. One expectation that I had and have heard is each generation move a step higher, be a little bit more successful. So to do that, it requires a lots of times, depending upon what you're wanting, multiple incomes for the households. So that's one thing that I felt and still feel as far as the expectation for my generation, kind of being, as a woman, having to balance both household and career all together, and family.
Yeah.
I'm just going to agree with you saying about being between the generations, because I grew up, with, I just remember being taught, serve your husband, fix his plate, iron his clothes, and, do all of those things. And, he works, but I'm like, wait a minute, we're both working. And I just remember for years, I tried to conform to that role, raising my family, raising the girls, working, just doing it all. And then once they grew up, I was like, okay, I lost myself, like trying to be everything for everybody. So it took, I guess, a little bit of empty nesting to reevaluate, okay, myself, and then conversations with your dad about, okay, I think we need to share this load a little bit. You can cook as well as I can, and you get home a little bit earlier than me. So how about you cook dinner. So I think now we're better at balancing things, because we both are working. Both are contributing equally to the household. So why can't we share the responsibilities of the house? But it took a while. It took years of me saying, wait a minute, I'm doing more than more than I fit. Yeah, more than my fair share. I'm kind of doing it all. So let's take another look at this. And thankfully, we've been growing and changing and working. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, that's really, really good. And I hear both of you guys saying, Grandma, you said something similar, that if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of anybody else. And I think that is a lesson I am learning so much. That's this chapter of my life. That's what it's defined as. And so as we wrap up, I just want us to go around and just think about the young woman who doesn't have any wisdom, any other woman to lean on. From all the wisdom that you've gained, what's one piece of advice that you could offer just about navigating being a woman, being a wife, being a mother, all the things that we have to take on, like knowing what you know now, what is something that you would offer to other women?
The key word here, and we are familiar with it, is ministry. And we must put God first. That gives us an edge over the world, because we let him, we listen to his teachings from the Bible as it should be. We honor our mothers and our fathers, and we embrace the husband or the spouse that he has given us. And we all are fearfully and wonderfully made. No sex, I don't mean sexual sex, but gender is better than the other. So God created us all equal. But that's a hard lesson to learn because of macho men and some women who haven't really realized their worth, their self-worth. So upon meeting someone who needs a big sister or a mother, that's what we need to do. Be that caring person to encourage, and don't be afraid to tell them your story, because it will certainly help them in the long run.
The scripture tells us, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. So, encourage each other, Tell them that God loves you, and so do I. Just talk to them. Encourage them in whatever situation they're going through. Let them know it's okay. It's okay. Trust God. It's okay. It will be okay.
And to tell her, I'm here for you. That's the most important thing, because some of them, they don't know about God, their religion or their Christianity or whatever they believe in. It's just not there yet. All they know is I'm having a rough time in this world and I need help. So we need those steps to guide them to a better place in their life.
I would just say to them, definitely know God, love God, know yourself, and love yourself. Those four things, you'll be good.
And as I always feel like I'm that middle generation between the old school and the new school. Definitely put God first. And I know, we were always taught, pray about it. That was the answer, pray about it. But I feel like, aside from just praying about it, you need to know when to ask for help as well, and that it's okay to ask for help. And that's something as women that we don't do. We feel like we just bear, we can bear it all. But pray about it, absolutely, but also know that it's okay to ask for help.
There is help available.
Add on to what she said. Well, Auntie said all weekend. Auntie's been telling us Jesus, others, yourself. And Andrew just said it's important to pray, but it's also important to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in a rough spot,
Yeah.
my sisters are in Texas. I can't tell my mother. I can get on the phone and call one of my sisters. Oh, let's get on the phone. We get on three-way. We talk about it. So I think that's my strength, and I have friends that do not have that. So I have to tell them, girl, call, talk to someone. You need to get it out, even if you gotta talk to yourself. I'll text myself. If neither one of them can answer the phone, I will text myself to get it out and say, okay, because we were taught to be strong, like I'm trying to be strong like my mom, and I don't really have all of that. Or I'll pray, and I don't feel like I've got an answer, so I'm sitting there. So it is important to talk to yourself, love yourself, and mental health. Okay, I need a moment. I can't handle this. I never seen my mom break down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, teaching my girls, hey, if it's too much, back up. Say I can't.
Yeah.
Hold on, don't, because my grandmother took care of 10 kids with no job,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
no break, no vacation. My mother took care of us and grandkids, no break, no vacation. Vacation with the kids. I can't do that. I mean, so honestly,
Yeah.
you have to, and I'll tell everyone else, me and my sisters love on each other. We feed off each other's strength. If you can't find that strength, you got to step back and just regroup. You have to do that. I didn't do it for 20-something years, and I just kept pounding because I thought that's what I had to do. I had to stay in the fight and keep fighting by myself. So once I stopped and let go, a lot of things changed. So I'm stronger mentally, so I can handle more things, and I'm able to be a better mother for her. So I won't and be better for my grandkids and be more available to my family for whatever little thing. The strength that I had to pull from them for the past 23 years. Now I'm at a point now where I can, be there because I've stepped back.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm fresh now.
Yeah.
Do that. Take it home.
Yeah. Wow, that was so amazing. And I know for a fact that if it doesn't help anybody else, you guys have helped me so much today. And I'm so thankful for each and every single one of you. I love each and every one of you so, so much. I'm so thankful for our family. I'm so thankful for the strength that you all embody and you've shown me to embody. And I know that if I can be, half the woman that you all are, then I'll be a great mom to both of these kids. So thank you. I love you.